Hello and welcome to English 2. I will be your online facilitator, Miss Abear. Today we are looking at Notice and Note by Kylene and Bob Probst. This is a book for your teachers, not necessarily for you. These amazing educators have written this book to help students understand what it is that they're reading and how to make sense of what it is that you're reading. And so what we want to do is look a little bit about what is close reading. Close reading is a literary strategy that involves reading a text multiple times and examining its meaning in depth. Close reading helps students seek out micro levels of understanding, locate evidence within a text, and engage with complex texts and analyze the language and structure of a text. But what does that mean for you? As the student, how many times have you been asked, what is the theme of a story? Or how do the characters advance the plot? Those kinds of questions. That can be sometimes difficult for students, especially if you're already having trouble understanding a text and comprehending what it is that it says. So these amazing educators, again, it's Kylene and Bob Probst, spent many years researching the most effective ways for students to make meaning out of that text. And so they found these strategies that they identify and they call signposts. These signposts are there to help you, the student, understand specifically where to stop and question what's going on in this text. Those signposts, along with those questions, will help you make predictions and inferences, help you understand the plot, the conflict, and the theme, and additionally will help you understand character development and how those characters help develop the plot or the conflict or the theme. So what are these strategies? These are the signposts. You have contrasts and contradictions, aha moments, tough questions, words from the wiser, again and again, and memory moments. These 6 signposts, when you master them, will help you understand the text in a deeper level. So let's look more closely at what each of these signposts is going to ask you to do. So the first one is contrast and contradictions. When you're reading and a character says or does something that's opposite, it contradicts what that character has been saying or doing all along, you should stop and ask yourself, why is the character doing that? The answer could help you make a prediction or an inference about the plot and conflict. The next signpost are the tough questions. When you're reading and a character asks himself a really tough question, you should stop and ask yourself, what does this question make me wonder about? The answers will tell you about the conflict. It might give you ideas about what will happen later in the story. Okay, the next one are the aha moments. When you're reading and suddenly a character realizes, understands, or finally figures something out, you should stop and ask yourself, how might this change things? If the character figured out a problem, you probably just learned something about the conflict. If the character understood a life lesson, then you probably just learned one of the many themes of that story. The next one are words from the wiser. So when you're reading and a character who's probably older and lots wiser takes the main character aside and gives a serious advice, you should stop and ask yourself, what is that life lesson and how might it affect the character? Whatever the lesson is, you've probably found the theme for that story. Next, we have again and again. It's exactly what it sounds like. When you're reading and you notice a word, phrase, object, or even a situation that's mentioned over and over again, you should stop and ask yourself, why does this keep showing up again and again? The answer will tell you about the theme or the conflict. It might even foreshadow what will happen later. And last, but obviously not least, is the memory moment. When you're reading and the author interrupts the action to tell you a memory, you should stop and ask yourself, why might this memory be important? The answers will tell you about the theme, conflict, or might foreshadow what will happen later in the story. So these are the signposts that we're going to be looking at over the next week and a half to 2 weeks. And so we're going to delve deep into each of these signposts, and we will look at texts that will help you see those in action. Guys, I hope you have enjoyed today's lesson. I know it's been short. Your teacher will have a few things for you to do so that you can get this introduction to these signposts, but I will see you again tomorrow for the next part of the Notice and Note lesson. You guys have a great afternoon.